We all forget. We all forget.
Bonnie gives great customer tech support. It's great.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie and Wendy.
Which is quite funny because that's really not my forte, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, take it away, Chris.
Yeah, thanks everybody. So I think the goal here was to look at some of the specific zones throughout the city that staff has been considering recommending to council, as Hans mentioned. So I'll start with this first slide. I just wanted to give a general overview of the city's zoning, and also you'll see these crosshatch bubbles throughout. These are basically the 600-foot buffers from the property lines of schools, daycares, and youth center parcels, which is this distance is required by the state for cannabis businesses. This gives you an idea of, where can we really consider. In blue is our commercial kind of mixed use areas, at least along the coastline here. You see Lighthouse Avenue downtown, and then there's North Fremont. Those are our specific plan areas. And then are some of our commercial zones that everyone I think is familiar with, Cannery Row and that district over there. And so I think this is also useful to see, also the neighborhoods as well. The yellows, those are all of our neighborhoods. And that kind of just shows the proximity of our commercial zones to the neighborhoods, and ultimately where are these uses going to be proposed and where are they prohibited. So I worked with Nat to kind of develop these 3 zones, and we basically said that the Lighthouse Avenue corridor, Cannery Row, and downtown, excluding Alvarado Street. And so in green on the top, you see the Lighthouse Avenue corridor, and you can see there are some daycare schools and youth centers that really would block these types of uses on a lot of Lighthouse. Basically on 2 ends, we could have this use, and then a couple parcels in the middle. Zone 2 is Cannery Row. There, a lot of the main strip of Cannery Row is generally open. This is in the coastal zone. I've tried to throw that here with this light blue, so we would ultimately have to go to the Coastal Commission as well. And then the 3rd zone is the downtown area, excluding Alvarado Street. And you can see I try to remove all the parcels along Alvarado. I think another way I could have done this is still included all those parcels and say, they're just, these uses are prohibited on the storefront, and that way some of these parcels could be used on either side of Alvarado. It's something we'll have to discuss further. And then again, so I just wanted to zoom in and show these areas so you can see them in a little bit closer, a little more detail.
Chris, do you know what block of Lighthouse that is?
Yeah.
In the center there?
Yeah.
It looks like between McClellan and Drake. I'm not sure what businesses are down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we had a map that shows us it's in the 700 block or so. I'm not sure, Chris.
That looks like the 300 or 400 block, probably.
Yeah, I could look it up really quickly. And I mean, we want this open to discussion. Some of the things that I discussed with Nat, are these the only zones we want to look at? We kind of talked about whether Wave and Foam Street should be included, and thought there were a lot of hotel and residential uses down there, so maybe not. We just kind of want to get an idea from the community.
Why is North Fremont excluded? Because I think our board was in favor, and Richard's on the call too, but.
I can answer that right away. My current intent is not to propose for North Fremont. There is already a density of dispensaries in relatively short driving distance, and we also had Villa Del Monte speak up against that. at least their neighborhood representative. And so for those reasons, we will not propose North Fremont yet. Of course, this is a process, and if there are more voices than your business associations, if the council gets swayed to that, why not? But from a real economic analysis point of view, the sales in that area will be not as effective as if we put it into a different part of town.
Okay.
To answer your question, Aaron, it looks like that's the 400 block. I think that was, I don't know what business is at the,
Well,
this location, but 471, it's next to the carpet place, and then,
it's the kitchen supply store. And then the
Okay.
one across the street is actually empty, but it's going to be a doctor's office. And that actually borders our building. So it's the last, the last building of that block. Pretty interesting as far as the way that the daycare and youth center kind of cut that block up, but
yeah. So I just wanted to bring back this, the downtown as well.
the downtown seems to have a lot more of like options as far as.
Yeah, so you see here in the downtown area, we know our present state of knowledge, so to speak, is we know that there is the desire not to place a dispensary directly on Alvarado Street, but what we heard from the public outreach meetings, that anywhere else in that general area would be okay, but not on Alvarado Street. So we are proposing right now, our draft recommendation will be to place one dispensary in the Old Town area there, but not directly on Alvarado Street.
Hans, I have a meeting with the board tomorrow, and I'm going to bring up Alvarado again, so we know for sure that that was sort of wavering. So we'll check out tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
And the only other thing, Hans, there on Jack's Park, there is that tot lot. So right now you're showing it's possible to have a dispensary where the Japanese museum is, and also right across the street from that tot lot. I don't know that you want to include any of those houses or businesses on Adams. I think that's approaching a little close also to the residents in downtown.
Yeah. Chris, make note of that concern. The tot lot is basically at the entrance to the ballpark there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I know it couldn't be near parks. Is there a regulation about residences? And I'm thinking about right downtown as far as mixed use. How does that work into it?
No, there's no regulation. Actually, there's no regulation for parks either. It would be up to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Richard?
Yes, I'd like to ask two questions. And what I see here, as we're going to just one dispensary that you're talking about, is volume and parking. And so off-street parking is extremely important, that we don't have people standing in lines carrying bags around with them. They have easy access in, easy access out. I don't see that considered in some of these properties. And the second part is, if we are focusing on revenue because of the visitor stream, we have to pick a property that can deal with the volume, that will not be a visual impairment to the residents, that will not attract attention. So I think we can narrow these down on the issue of access and revenue. And if that's what our target is, we need to start eliminating some of these properties, because those landlords are going to be thinking maybe keeping other renters out. In the meantime, some of the issues that were brought up in all your surveys were visual impacts, parking, and revenue. Could you address those, please?
Yes, absolutely. You raise very valid points. They will have to be addressed through the RFP process. I don't think right now as staff we can go property by property and check out the individual suitability for parking and the other points that you raised. That has to be flushed out through the RFP. I think that the whole process is a highly litigious process, and so you can expect that those who will not get the ring will try to find a lot of reasons of why the process was tainted against them in a way or the other. And I feel if we are doing that process right now, it will just prolong number one, the implementation even longer, and number two, it will also probably create points of discussions, because we cannot do an exhaustive analysis of each and every property. We should, Richard, absolutely bring into the part of the RFP what the expectations are with getting in and out of the stores, with parking surrounding that, and also with the improvements to the buildings to ensure that those buildings also are attractive and adding value to the neighborhood as well. So, but we cannot completely eliminate right now the for-profit behavior of property owners who might just want to play a little bit monopoly with their properties and hope that they get a permit for that. Part of our going forward with the proposal, and then hopefully with the council approving or saying where they would like to see dispensaries, part of this intent is really to take other areas off the plate. And basically, when you look, go back to Lighthouse, Chris, when you look at the Lighthouse area, there are properties that that might have been part of the discussion from some property owners. At least I know anecdotally of one or the other in those cloud formations now, and they are taking out. They are now out of discussion. So we wanted to provide also some planning security. We cannot completely eliminate speculation, even though that is absolutely desired, Richard. So we try to provide some limited clarity. I think it works very well on the Lighthouse district right now. And again, the council can make it even tougher if they increase more buffers or they want more additional restrictions there. The other part that we haven't shared with you yet is that our proposal will include 3 dispensaries, to have 3 in the city. That is the max that our sales tax analysis is showing. And I will propose, or in the draft form again, our current thinking is, cards played openly with you, to propose them for the Lighthouse District and Cannery Row. We'll see how the council, how the community, how the businesses are embracing that. But we as staff right now currently can envision 2 dispensaries on that part of town, Lighthouse District, Cannery Row District, and one in Old Town. And again, I want to be absolutely clear and transparent to you. At the end of this process, it is whatever the community and the council decides. It's not up to staff to force our hand. So we depend on your input. We depend on the input of our neighborhoods, and of course, to a certain degree, also on those business operators who know how to run dispensaries. So all those folks will give us feedback, and this is a starting point for us. And at the end of that process, we hope that we have three areas where to place dispensaries. And Wendy and Richard, absolutely, if you carry the discussion also with respect to North Fremont and the council feels that is adequate, staff will not will not stand in their way. We will absolutely follow what the will of the community is. So, but I wanted to show you that we are thinking about 3 dispensaries, 2 in that area that we are looking at in zone 1 and 2, and 1 in the Old Town Business District, none right now in North Fremont.
Hans, was there ever a consideration for the Del Monte Center, seeing as
Yes.
it's far away from residents and
Yes.
schools?
Yes.
Is that, I don't see it. I mean, so is there not, was there not a plan to have that as part of the scope?
Yeah, we looked at that. We had a sales tax analysis conducted for that as part. It's part of the HDL analysis that you find on our website, Have Your Say Monterey, but it was excluded for a variety of reasons. Number one, it's a privately owned shopping mall. And number 2, from a sales tax volume, the better areas are the business districts, not Del Monte Shopping Center. But it was part of our analysis, Del Monte Shopping Center. And I know it was excluded early on. I will look up the reasons tonight again, but if you want to look it up for yourself, they are posted on Have Your Say in the HDL sales tax analysis. So we looked at Del Monte, we looked at North Fremont, we looked at Old Town, and we looked at Lighthouse and Canary Row. It is, Aaron, in my understanding, it was for me, when we tasked the sales tax folks with looking at it, it was for me speaking an easy target because parking is available. You can get in and out to the highway fast.
That's what I was thinking, the access and the parking.
Yes, I completely agree with you, but in our analysis, I think the end result was probably not likely that this is going to happen there. I'm speculating also, but the shopping mall, as we all know, who have been on the peninsula for longer, it has transformed themselves from certain shops that they didn't renew their leases with to new shops that they think cater more to their clientele. So that would be also something to figure out if they want to partner on this or not. So. But just from the economics, Aaron, I agreed with you when we started this process as well. It just makes sense. The same makes sense for North Fremont to a degree, because you also have access quickly to.
I'd say the same thing with Bryan Ranch, but that, like you said, there's a lot of, so maybe in those might be later phases, later way on down the road, if they want to consider adding those kind of businesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to remind everyone, we are already today oversaturated with dispensaries. If you really look at the knowledge that comes from those who analyze sales tax and number of customers, I think the number that I recall is that one dispensary entertains about 18,000 people living here or residents. We have right now with that one dispensary for every 8,000. And then there is a formula that calculates the tourists into that calculation as well, but we are still oversaturated. So even bringing 3 in from the normal economic model, it doesn't make instantaneously sense. It makes sense just from the location, because Monterey attracts a lot of folks that would go and come here and shop, and so that's the factor that the sales tax analysts are considering, why it would make sense to add 3 into the city.
Is there a study that correlates it to hotels? Because North Fremont and also
No.
Lighthouse, Canary Road.
in the analysis, it analyzes the average visitor to Monterey. They characterize them as a party of 2.3 people, I believe, something like that. And it characterizes the average visitor to Monterey who stays overnight also as the average purchaser of cannabis products. So the average traveler into Monterey is also in the right age group, most likely to purchase products from dispensaries. So they divided that up in age groups. And I think the age group that is the most common traveling to Monterey is in the mid 30s, early 40s. And these are also the folks that are more likely becoming customers of dispensaries. And again, this HDL report is in my humble opinion, very well drafted. It provides a lot of information. They correlated MCCVB data and I believe aquarium visitor data also, but it's not directly correlated with hotels on North Fremont and how many of those folks would most likely purchase on North Fremont. The overall number also that comes from overnight stays to sales is lower than I expected it. Let me use that phrase. It's not as high as you might think, Wendy. It's lower than I expected, higher correlations, but it's lower. So there, again, unfortunately, I read the last time the HDL report 3 months ago. I should have read it in preparation of that again. So I don't have all the data available, but it's all out there. And please read it and engage with me if you have questions. And it does make sense.
And these numbers that you're talking about, that's considered like normal pre-pandemic visitation. That's okay.
Yes.
Normal seasons.
And of course, the fairgrounds attracts a lot of the customers.
Yes, and
so Kelly's not on this call. Pardon me.
Yeah, and Richard, I'll get to you in 1 second.
Sure.
Wendy, the special events are part of a separate regulatory ordinance that we have to draft, and I like to engage on the special events as well, because there is definitely a special event cannabis market that is hosted in hotels and also at fairgrounds, and there might be an additional need for regulations and also opportunities for the city to get revenues. Richard, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Hans, that Delray Oaks currently has 2 dispensaries. Seaside has 6 legalized, but they're now considering above the 6. And figures mentioned were 3 to 6 more. It makes no sense to put one in the North Fremont area when you have possibly up to a dozen dispensaries within a mile and a half. And your studies clearly show the profit margin, the volume, and the tax is in the visitor corridor. So that would be Lighthouse. It would be Del Monte, and it would be Cannery Row. And I think I haven't done a survey, but you have comments from my neighborhood in the surveys. I don't have a clear indication if people want that here or not. The fairgrounds is a separate issue, and there are a lot of things to work out on that, and I'm going to leave that to you. I'm going to have to go to eye exam, so thank you for letting me participate.
Bye-bye, Richard. Thank you. So what
Lance?
Go ahead, Lance.
Hi, so whether we're opposed to or in favor of adding these shops to the district, are you just looking for something drafted by the Cannery Row Business Association, whether that be in position or?
Yes.
Okay.
It would
and that should be addressed to council?
Yeah, address it to the council, address it to me. It will be part of our record that we submit to the council. If you address it to the council, just copy me as well.
Hans, I did have another quick question. I think I heard someone say that the Cannery Row district was in the coastal development district as well and would have to go to the coastal commission. Is that what I heard? Or does that not play into the process of how that would work?
Yeah, I can answer that. So that's our assumption, is that we would have to take whatever adopted ordinance that the council approves and bring it to the coastal commission for a consistency review. You know, I haven't engaged the coastal planners yet. We wanted to get an idea from the members of the district or whether it was a use that we would want to propose down there. But you know, it may be as simple as coastal staff saying, oh, you know, you just need a waiver or an exemption because this is, they may see it as a visitor serving use, which they would typically encourage. It's just not clear yet.
And have you received any feedback from the New Monterey Neighborhood Association?
You know, we've only spoken with, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, I believe Nancy Runyon is part of the neighborhood association, but I've only spoken to her within the New Monterey, the Lighthouse District Business Association meeting. So we haven't engaged with the neighborhood.
I engaged with the neighborhoods. There's no objections from New Monterey with Lighthouse or Cannery Row.
Yeah, there's
And
no formal objection, but I imagine there will be some.
Well, this is
more than
California.
other.
This is California. There will be objections.
Yeah, okay, well put.
Well, I'll add, I showed this map, or at least a different version of this map at the Lighthouse District meeting. And I think Nancy, she had some concern until I showed this map and she realized that there are some large spots of the area that simply just, it wouldn't be allowed. And it seemed like she wasn't too concerned after that, but you know, we'll have to talk with them directly and receive their comment.
Yeah, I think their concerns were definitely mostly around security, and so I think if that is sufficiently addressed in the ordinance or in the language, then I think there won't be any major issues.
I live in New Monterey. My radar is so high up here in New Monterey, and I have not heard any organized objections like we hear when you want to rezone a building on Cannery Row to provide more housing or something. So
right.
There are until now really crickets from the neighborhood, and I want to tell you I'm so sensitive because I live here on the better part of Monterey, in New Monterey. That's where the real people live, and I haven't heard anything dramatic yet. Knock on wood, but it can happen. And Bonnie, before I get to you, I want to tell you, Wendy, I looked up the data quickly. The average travel party to Monterey is 3.1 people, and the average age is 25 to 34. That's about 22% of all visitors, to 25 to 34. And that generally tracks with the age demographic most likely to use cannabis, which are young adults 19 to 29. So anyways, I just wanted to give you that quick data, and because I gave you the wrong data age range, I remember saying something wrong.
Thank you.
Bonnie, you had a question or a comment?
Another question. Are there going to be any restrictions on the size of the shop that they can move into or anything along those lines?
I don't know. It didn't cross my mind. I mean, we could have a cannabis superstore, you know, take it over in CVS. No, I don't know. We have no opinion. That might be something that the chief is already getting scared about, no size limitations, but we haven't considered that yet.
I'm thinking a Costco size cannabis store, super center of Central California.
From a business perspective, I'm sorry. May I make comment?
Yeah, please.
From a business perspective, we've certainly heard that from some people, not a lot of people, from some people, that it should be positioned near parking
Yes.
because of the number of people, and we understand that. And we agree with that. But we also want to see the people going into these shops also, once they're in the town, visiting our restaurants and visiting our shops. It's still business, and that demographic that you're explaining is exactly a demographic that we want to see in our shops.
And I have never used marijuana, but I understand that there may be certain urges to consume certain foods, and that might be helpful then as well.
Yes, we're planning on about 8 more snack shops. So
That's right. We'll have the ice cream and the pizza shop around the new dispensary.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, so unfortunately, Baskin Robbins is in the exclusion zone.
But this can be a very positive boom to all the businesses in the area.
And I just apologize if I go back to Wendy. It's not that I preference her question so much, but I know now the answer also for the other question. So the hotel visitors that we have across the peninsula, not just North Fremont, they add about 57,000 additional potential serious customers to the living population on the peninsula. So just wanted to throw that in as a data point. Again, 18,000 is what a dispensary needs. We have right now 8,000 to 9,000 people per dispensary, but the visitors are adding about 57,000 people equivalent to full-time residents.
Thank you.
Hans?
Yes, Kurt.
One other thing, if you know, Jack's Park has the tot lot, but Jack's Park also is exclusively being used by the youth. And I noticed in your map that you show some buildings possible on Figueroa right across from Jack's Park. And not only is parking zero there, it's right across the street from the park where all the youth are. So
Yeah.
you may want to go back and think about having those excluded also.
Yep. So noted, Kurt. You raised an excellent point, and we'll look at the regulation and see what it allows and disallows. Absolutely.
I'll add just on that topic, when the council was considering the testing laboratories, which if you're not aware, the city council did approve testing laboratories for cannabis and other agricultural testing. Staff did propose a separate radius for parks and those types of things for that type of business. The planning commission ultimately decided that this was kind of a business that was not necessary because it is close to the public, but I'm sure that staff is going to seriously consider it. And I believe we proposed a 150-foot buffer. And you know, we could consider a different distance.
Now, explain to us, Chris, if we put a dispensary somewhere into Old Town or into Lighthouse, and if someone opens a daycare adjacent to it, who wins that selection process?
You know, I would need confirmation from legal, but I believe both businesses get to stay in that location.
Yes.
I think that it's only when there's a youths or daycare that's in existence at the time of the proposed business. Actually, I think that's fairly clear.
Yeah, and that's the correct answer, Chris. The whatever we create as buffers right now is valid on the current state. If we have dispensaries then placed, they are grandfathered in, and then if you want to open a daycare or a playground or something close by, this is not prevents them to requires then a shutdown of the dispensary. So I just wanted to clarify that. Yes, Lance.
In that sense, have we taken into consideration for the Canary Row Business District the proximity of the aquarium and the new Ocean Education Center that has a lot of children in it?
I mean, yes, you have a lot of children going in and out of CVS, you know, or a lot of children going to Johnny's Pizza Place. I think you got to draw the line somewhere somehow, but the aquarium is a good question. We'll bring this up, including the education center.
You know, I will add, and it's probably a greater discussion for staff. I think I've seen that some jurisdictions have a system where they require an annual use permit or something to that effect. And that may be a mechanism where if a new daycare comes in, that business may have to relocate. Not sure that we want to support that. We haven't really discussed it, but I think I've seen that somewhere.
You know, I just might,
Yeah, Rick, go ahead.
I just might caution though, if I'll speak for Old Town and New Monterey right now, that whatever comes in, we want very much to be high grade, and we want them to invest money in the building. So as far as a 1-year use permit type thing, that's a little off-putting when we look at the amount of money we hope to be invested in these.
Yep.
I think since we're taking such a surgical look at defining the areas that we want to have a possible dispensary go into, is that considering what might be moving as a daycare in the future, or even it might be more education or youth centered, you know, I think that since we're already doing that, we might as well look like what are the blobs of areas that we think would have the most longevity, to Rick's point. And so they wouldn't have to be looking every year to keep their, you know, to possibly be moved. So, you know, since we're going through this process, might be look at, we might have to eliminate some places next to Jack's Park or the education center, knowing that like the least resistance it can have to completion and the less it puts a burden on the future occupants, then that will, I think, be the best for everybody.
Yep. Chief Hobart.
I was just going to clarify, I think, and Chris can confirm this for us, that I think that what he's done is drawn those lines by specifically defined criteria of school or daycare. And when it comes to the park or the aquarium educational center, I don't think those fall within the parameters of that specific definition. That somewhere in the back of my mind, I remember that I don't think that was just best practices. I think that was state law. And so that's what it was defined on.
Yeah.
And so Chris might be able to just clarify that.
Nope, that's exactly right. Yeah, we haven't included anything further than what the state requires.
And Chief and Chris, we can declare further what we want to do, i.e. Lance's input about the Aquarium Education Center can create another buffer that we can define. So this is all extremely helpful for us. We appreciate all your super smart questions and concerns and issues you raise. It's extremely helpful for us. I'm deeply appreciative of that. And like I said, we play with open cards. We don't have anything in our backhand right now that we are not showing you or not knowing or knowingly ignoring so we're moving forward, as you can see. We're looking forward hearing from you. We will make sure that we have something in front of council early May. And you heard the last time when I asked the council to take a vote and give us, the staff, the direction again to move forward. It was again a 4-1 vote, but you also heard concerns raised by one or the other council members on the yay side, that they had some concerns about that. So this will be an interesting check in early May, and we'll keep you all posted. And if you have questions now, please go ahead and ask us. I can ask Chris to send you those. The map of the cannabis retail zones, if you want to have them, that they are available right now. Again, this is a work in progress, so don't take this as our last word. This is just sharing with you what we have right now, and subject to changes based on, among other things, also your valued input.
Yeah, and I will add that if there are uses that you think they should be included in the 600-foot buffer, perhaps I missed a daycare that is not listed on Google, or for example, Kurt's suggestion for parks. Let me know, and we can map it out and see what it looks like, and see what those different buffers potentials could be, whether it's 100 or 600 or whatever. We're still in the beginning phase of deciding what's really appropriate.
If you guys are okay with that, I'll make sure that we have this posted by tomorrow lunchtime, including this recording as well, and then you find it on Have Your Say Monterey. I don't know, we updated the website a couple of times. We had a dump of an additional set of 500 postcards, surveys that came about 3 weeks, 4 weeks after we had officially already briefed the council about the result. Those 500 additional cards didn't change anything in the outcome. They changed the numbers a tiny bit in the behind the comma, but really not significant, not really anything significantly. And of course, some staff members were shouting, "Stop the steal!" Stop counting the votes. But we counted them. All right. Can we just stop at 3 a.m. in the morning with counting votes? No, we can't. So we added the 500 votes also onto the website and made a remark about that. So if you want to read it, it characterizes where we ended up with those. All right. Thank you for grinning to my lame jokes. Bonnie is used to the brilliant.
I mean, don't quit your day job. Just saying,
Thank you. Bonnie is used to the brilliant jokes of John Turner day in and day out. So.
Yeah, you've been hanging out with him, I can tell.
I appreciate your help today, and Chris, thank you. And let's hope Ned is back tomorrow. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Hans.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.